I think you and your engineers have done a great job. You've not only retained the outstanding features you put into our 1932 Dodge cars, but you've gone beyond what I expected could be accomplished.
Everybody knows how big the name Henry Ford was. He was the man known for innovating and changing the auto industry and the way we produce things. But so were the Dodge brothers, pioneers and industrialists who co-founded the Dodge Brothers Company in the early 20th century. But as the brothers transitioned from successful auto parts suppliers to car manufacturers, they quickly discovered that their ambitions clashed with Ford's relentless pursuit of efficiency and control. Two titans of industry found themselves on a collision course that would reshape the landscape of American manufacturing. It was like war. But what exactly drove the Dodge brothers to take on the formidable Henry Ford, a man whose vision revolutionized the automobile industry? Was it merely competition, or was there something deeper at play, a battle for the soul of American entrepreneurship? How did it happen? At the time, Henry Ford, having already faced his fair share of failures, was about to take on his biggest challenge yet. Ford's vision is a bold one, a car that's not just for the wealthy elite, but for the ordinary man on the street. But it's not smooth sailing at first. Ford's first attempt, the Detroit Automobile Company, goes belly up. The dream seems doomed, but Ford doesn't give up. He's got the determination of someone who knows this is his last shot at greatness. He gets another chance, and this time, with the help of a few financiers, the Ford Motor Company is born. Then comes the breakthrough. Ford doesn't just want to build a car, he wants to build the car, the Model T, an affordable, reliable, and revolutionary vehicle that will change the world. At the heart of this success are the Dodge brothers, John and Horace, skilled mechanics with an eye for business. Their parts make the Model T run smoothly, and their expertise helps Ford deliver on his promises. In return, they gain substantial stakes in the company, making them crucial partners in this new venture. The Model T takes off in a way that no one could have predicted. Ford's vision starts to take shape, but while the Model T is a success, the relationship between Ford and the Dodges, which seemed so solid at first, begins to show signs of strain. Ford is a man with a singular vision, and the more success he finds, the more it seems that his partner's influence over the company diminishes. What seemed like a partnership of equals is starting to look more like a monarchy with Ford at the top. The power of the Model T. Fast forward to 1908. Ford's vision is now a reality. The Model T has hit the market, and it's an instant success. Cars that were once out of reach for the common man are now affordable. Ford's assembly line revolutionized manufacturing, cutting costs and boosting production. For the first time in history, mass production is a reality, but it's not just the assembly line that makes Ford's success possible. It's the partnership with the Dodge brothers that has helped the company stay afloat. The Dodges provide Ford with critical parts, including axles and engines. Without their help, the Model T might never have gotten off the ground. As the company grows, so too does the influence of the Dodges. Ford's assembly line is producing thousands of cars, and the company is rapidly expanding. But the cracks in the partnership are starting to show. Ford, with his big ideas and even bigger ambitions, begins to push for greater control. He's a man with a single-minded focus, and while the Dodges have certainly made their contribution, Ford seems to think they're just along for the ride. At this point, the Dodges are becoming disillusioned. They're businessmen, and they're watching Ford's personal brand grow as the company expands. Ford is becoming a household name, while the Dodges remain in the shadows. This isn't what they signed up for. They didn't get into business to be sidelined. They got into business to win, to make money, and to have power. It's at this point that the seeds of the rivalry are sown. The relationship, once based on mutual respect and a shared vision, is beginning to sour. The seeds of rivalry. In the year 1914, Ford's company was flourishing, but the cracks that have been slowly growing between him and the Dodge brothers are now too wide to ignore. The Dodge brothers are no longer content with just supplying parts. They want more, they want control, and they want a piece of the company that is rapidly becoming one of the most powerful forces in American industry. Ford, on the other hand, is a man who doesn't like to share. He's already proven he has the power to dominate the market. He's raised wages to $5 a day, a move that makes him a hero to workers but a villain to business interests. The move is a bold one. Ford is betting that paying his workers well will boost productivity and create a loyal workforce. But for the Dodge brothers, this decision is a step too far. They see it as an unnecessary expense that could hurt the company's profits. At the same time, Ford is pushing forward with his plans to centralize control of the company. He's not content with just being a part of the auto industry. He wants to shape it, to mold it, to control it. The Dodge brothers, who have already felt sidelined by Ford's autocratic leadership, are now beginning to feel that their influence in the company is slipping away. They're looking for a way out. The Dodge brothers make their move. They begin to explore other business ventures, knowing that if they stay with Ford, they'll only continue to lose influence. They start to look for ways to break free, and the battle is set in motion. Ford's increasing control. By 1917, Henry Ford had cemented himself as one of the most powerful men in America. The Ford Motor Company is a giant, dominating the automotive industry. Ford is no longer just a businessman. He's a legend. His name is synonymous with innovation, industry, and progress. But for all of Ford's success, the Dodge brothers have become increasingly frustrated with their lack of influence in the company. They've watched as Ford's ego grows and his control over the company tightens. They've seen the company shift from being a joint venture to Ford's personal empire. At this point, the Dodge brothers are no longer interested in playing second fiddle to Ford. They begin legal action, demanding compensation for the contributions they've made to the company. Ford, ever the businessman, refuses to budge. This sets the stage for a dramatic legal battle that will not only reshape the future of the Ford Motor Company, but also cement the rivalry between Ford and the Dodge brothers as one of the most iconic feuds in American business history. The tension that has been building for years now explodes into a full-scale war. The once strong partnership is now a distant memory. The battle for control of the company, for the future of the Ford Motor Company, and for the very heart of the American auto industry has begun. The Dodge brothers strike back. In 1917, the legal battle between Ford and the Dodge brothers was reaching a boiling point. The tension that has been simmering beneath the surface for years has finally boiled over. The Dodges, once key players in the Ford Motor Company, are now determined to reclaim their lost influence. Ford's domination of the company has left them with no choice but to take matters into their own hands. John and Horace Dodge, though they've been pushed aside in Ford's vision, have a reputation as shrewd businessmen. They're no strangers to power plays and are prepared to take on the titan of the automotive industry. What's at stake is far more than just money. It's about the control of the company they helped build and the future of the auto industry. Ford, meanwhile, has grown accustomed to his authority. His name is synonymous with innovation and success. He's built the Ford Motor Company into an empire, and he's not about to let a couple of disgruntled shareholders tear it down. His decision to fight back is as relentless as the assembly lines he's perfected. But the Dodges aren't backing down, and this war is far from over. The battle lines are drawn. On one side, Henry Ford, the man who redefined the American automotive industry. On the other, the Dodge brothers, the men who helped make Ford's success possible, but now want a bigger piece of the pie. The gloves are off. Legal warfare. The Dodge brothers, tired of Ford's increasing control, filed a lawsuit against the Ford Motor Company, demanding compensation for their work and influence in the company. The Dodge brothers claim they are owed more than just a share in the company. They deserve recognition for their crucial role in making Ford the success it is today. Ford, of course, refuses to give up any of his control. His reaction is firm and unyielding. He's not going to let a pair of brothers who helped him build his company take over. Ford's legal team begins to prepare for a fight that will take months, if not years, to resolve. The case becomes one of the most high-profile legal battles in American history, and the world watches as these two powerful forces go head-to-head. But Ford's strategy is one of calculated dominance. He uses his wealth and influence to wear down the Dodge brothers' resolve. Ford has the resources to outlast them, and he knows it. He believes that time is on his side, that if the case drags on long enough, the Dodges will grow weary and retreat. But the Dodge brothers are equally determined. They've been sidelined for too long, and now they're ready to fight for what they believe is rightfully theirs. The case drags on and tensions continue to rise. The battle is no longer just about business. It's become personal. The once strong partnership between Ford and the Dodges is now a rivalry that threatens to consume them both. The Dodge brothers counterattack. As the legal battle rages on, the Dodge brothers begin to make their move. They realize that they can't win this war by simply fighting Ford in the courts. They need to hit him where it hurts: the Ford Motor Company itself. In 1919, John and Horace Dodge decide to take the fight directly to Ford's doorstep. They begin the process of buying shares in the company, slowly but surely accumulating a stake in the very company that Ford built. Their plan is simple: gain control of the Ford Motor Company and wrest it from Ford's grasp. They know that the company is worth billions, and that owning a significant portion of it will give them the leverage they need. At first, Ford is unbothered by the Dodge's attempts to gain control. He believes that the company is his to control, and no one, not even the men who helped create it, can take that from him. But as the Dodge's stake grows, Ford begins to realize that he's facing an existential threat. The very company he built could be taken from him if the Dodge brothers gain enough influence. Ford's reaction is swift. He begins to fight back against the Dodge brothers in the boardroom, using every bit of his power to undermine their efforts. Ford fights to hold onto the control he's worked so hard to establish, but the Dodge brothers are not easily intimidated. They continue to amass shares, and soon it becomes clear that Ford's grip on the company is slipping. The final blow. By 1920, the battle between Ford and the Dodge brothers had reached its peak. Ford's refusal to compromise has left him with few allies. The Dodge brothers, on the other hand, have carefully cultivated relationships and secured the backing they need to make their move. It's now a showdown that will decide the future of the Ford Motor Company and the future of the Dodge brothers themselves. In a stunning move, the Dodge brothers sell their shares in the Ford Motor Company to a rival group of investors, effectively taking control of the company away from Ford. The move is a blow to Ford's ego, but it's a calculated one. The Dodge brothers, with their deep pockets and strategic thinking, have outsmarted Ford at his own game. Ford, devastated by the loss of control, watches helplessly as the company he built is now in the hands of the very men who once stood by his side. For Ford, this is the ultimate humiliation. His vision for the future of the Ford Motor Company has been shattered, and he's left to watch as the legacy of the company he created is torn away from him. But despite the setback, Ford is not finished. He's a fighter, and he's already planning his next move. The battle between Ford and the Dodge brothers may have been won by the latter, but Ford's fight is far from over. He may have lost control of the Ford Motor Company, but his name is still one of the most powerful in the world. The Dodge Victory. In 1920, the Dodge brothers have achieved what once seemed impossible. The battle for control of the Ford Motor Company is over, and they have emerged victorious. The boardroom war that played out behind the scenes, filled with legal maneuvering, stock acquisitions, and relentless tension, has reached its dramatic conclusion. The Ford empire has been split wide open, and John and Horace Dodge now hold the reins. But this victory is bittersweet. The Dodge brothers, having spent years in the shadow of Henry Ford's towering influence, are now faced with the responsibility of running a company that Ford once considered his own. The world watches as the brothers step into their new roles as leaders of one of the most powerful automotive companies in the world. The Dodge brothers quickly set about restoring order to the company. They push forward with their vision, one that contrasts sharply with Ford's. Ford's relentless focus on mass production and standardization has led to unprecedented success, but the Dodges have a different philosophy. They begin to innovate in their own right, determined to leave their mark on the Ford Motor Company and reshape its future. For the moment, the Dodges enjoy their victory, but they are well aware that their triumph comes at a cost. Ford is not a man who accepts defeat easily. His mind is already turning, his anger simmering. The stage is set for the next phase of this bitter rivalry, and the Dodges are about to realize that their victory was just the beginning of a much larger battle. The rise of Ford's revenge. Henry Ford, having lost control of the company he founded, is not a man who takes defeat lying down. The Dodge brothers may have taken his company, but they had underestimated Ford's resilience. His focus, now laser sharp, is on reclaiming what he feels is rightfully his. Ford begins to lay the groundwork for his revenge. He reaches out to his allies in the business world, cultivating relationships and garnering support for his cause. His determination to take back control of the Ford Motor Company is unwavering. The world may have thought that Ford's empire had crumbled, but in reality, it is simply the calm before the storm. In the meantime, the Dodge brothers continue their work at the helm of the company, but the pressure is mounting. They know that Ford is not someone to be taken lightly, and the constant threat of his return looms over them. They attempt to put their own stamp on the company, introducing new products and refining Ford's original ideas, but it's clear that their victory has left a mark on their reputations. The Ford Motor Company, once a symbol of stability and innovation, is now a company divided. Ford's absence is felt in every corner of the business, and while the Dodges are able to hold things together for the moment, their control of the company is fragile. They know that Ford will not rest until he's back in power, and they brace themselves for the next round in this epic clash. Ford's plan comes to fruition. By 1921, Ford's revenge is beginning to take shape. He has quietly built his forces, and now it's time to make his move. Ford's strategy is brilliant in its simplicity. If he can't reclaim the company by force, he will do so through influence. Ford, a master of control, has always known that the key to power lies in public perception. The Ford name is a brand in itself, a symbol of quality and progress. He begins to work behind the scenes to shape the narrative, to re-establish his dominance not only in the boardroom, but in the minds of the American public. Ford focuses on innovation, taking steps to further improve his famous assembly line and expand the company's reach. His focus on the Model T, once the cornerstone of his success, is renewed. Ford makes a bold move, announcing plans for a new, more affordable car, aimed directly at the same market that made the Model T a household name. The public responds enthusiastically. Ford, with his genius for marketing and understanding of the masses, has managed to reclaim his position as a leader in the automotive world. The Dodge brothers, meanwhile, watch helplessly as Ford's resurgence begins to eclipse their efforts. The brothers are doing their best to keep the company afloat, but Ford's re-emergence threatens to undo everything they've worked for. But Ford is not done yet. He knows that in order to truly reclaim control of the Ford Motor Company, he will need more than just a successful car. He will need to outmaneuver the Dodge brothers at every turn, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to come out on top. A new battle begins. In the midst of Ford's growing power, the Dodge brothers face mounting pressure from all sides. While Ford is quietly working to restore his dominance, the Dodges are becoming increasingly aware that their control of the Ford Motor Company is slipping away. Their once united front is beginning to fracture under the strain of Ford's growing influence. The brothers' strategy of expanding the company and diversifying their product line has not been as successful as they had hoped. Their financial resources, though substantial, are no match for the sheer scale of Ford's operation. The pressure to keep up with Ford's innovations is immense, and as the rivalry deepens, so does the sense of urgency. In a desperate attempt to maintain control, the Dodge brothers push forward with a new product line and an aggressive marketing campaign, but it's clear that their efforts are falling short. Ford's market share continues to grow, and the gap between the two companies widens. The brothers, who once held the upper hand, now find themselves fighting a losing battle. The Dodge brothers have managed to make their mark on the Ford Motor Company, but it's becoming increasingly clear that their victory is a fleeting one. Ford, with his endless determination and innovative spirit, is poised to take back what was once his, and he's not about to let anything stand in his way. The Dodge brothers' last stand. By 1925, the writing is on the wall. The Dodge brothers have fought hard to maintain control of the Ford Motor Company, but it's clear that the tide has turned. Ford, with his relentless drive and ingenuity, has regained much of the ground he lost in the early 1920s. The Dodge brothers, once titans in the industry, are now facing a battle they can't win. The brothers, however, refuse to back down without a fight. They continue to innovate, pushing forward with new ideas and products. But every step they take seems to be met with a countermove from Ford. It's a constant game of one-upmanship, and the Dodge brothers are starting to feel the weight of the competition. Ford's company, once fractured and vulnerable, is now stronger than ever. His focus on innovation, efficiency, and mass production has paid off, and the Ford Motor Company is once again a juggernaut. The public is once again on Ford's side, drawn in by the affordability and quality of his cars. Meanwhile, the Dodge brothers' attempts to reclaim their position seem increasingly futile. As the battle rages on, the Dodge brothers are faced with a difficult decision. They have made significant strides in expanding their company, but Ford's influence is simply too great. The brothers realize that the war for control of the Ford Motor Company is effectively over, but they won't give up their legacy so easily. They begin to shift their focus, not on trying to beat Ford at his own game, but on carving out their own path in the automotive world. The rise of the Dodge Company. In the wake of their defeat, the Dodge brothers begin to refocus their efforts. They decide to step away from the Ford Motor Company entirely, choosing instead to build their own brand. The Dodge Company, though born from the ashes of their former association with Ford, quickly establishes itself as a force in the automotive world. The Dodge brothers focus on creating cars that reflect their vision of quality and craftsmanship. Their vehicles, though different in design from Ford's, still carry the same spirit of innovation that marked their time at the Ford Motor Company. The Dodge brand quickly gains a reputation for durability, reliability, and performance, traits that set it apart from Ford's mass-produced vehicles. As the years go by, the Dodge brothers' decision to strike out on their own begins to pay off. The Dodge Company became one of the top competitors in the American automotive market, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. Though they may not have been able to reclaim the Ford Motor Company, the Dodge brothers have secured their place in history. However, Ford has not forgotten the battle. He continues to keep a close eye on his former partners, watching as the Dodge brothers build their new empire. The rivalry, though no longer focused on control of the Ford Motor Company, continues to simmer beneath the surface. For Henry Ford, the battle is far from over. As the 1930s approach, Henry Ford's reign over the automotive world remains unchallenged. His innovations in mass production and the assembly line have made him a household name, and his vehicles are synonymous with the American dream. Ford's Model T continues to sell in massive quantities, and his company's reach extends far beyond the borders of the United States. But even as Ford enjoys the fruits of his success, cracks begin to appear in his empire. His refusal to adapt to changing market conditions, particularly his resistance to the rise of new car designs, puts him at odds with an evolving automotive landscape. The industry is changing, and Ford's reluctance to change with it starts to affect his business. Meanwhile, the Dodge brothers' decision to forge their own path has given them a unique opportunity to adapt to these changes. The Dodge Company, free from the constraints of Ford's mass production model, is able to experiment with new designs and ideas. Their cars become known for their sleek, modern lines and innovative features, winning them a loyal following of customers. Ford, however, remains steadfast in his belief that his model of mass production is the only way forward. His refusal to embrace new ideas, coupled with his increasingly autocratic leadership style, begins to alienate some of his most loyal supporters. The battle for supremacy in the automotive world continues, but it's clear that the tides are turning.